Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I remember the moment without even trying. It was a Thursday night, one of those slow evenings where nothing feels rushed. I came home from work, kicked off my boots, and sank into the sofa next to Alice. She had already picked out our usual show. Nothing dramatic in the air, no cold tone, no clues, just a normal night in our house. Halfway through the episode, right in the middle of a quiet scene, she paused the TV. I thought she wanted to ask a simple question or rewind something she missed. Instead, she sat up straighter and folded her hands like she was about to give a speech at work. Tom, I need to say something, and I need you to stay calm. I didn't say a word. I just looked at her. She took a slow breath. I love you as a person, but I'm not in love with you anymore. The room didn't change, but the air did. It felt heavier, like someone had shut a door inside the house. She kept talking. I don't want to fight. I don't want to break anything. I want honesty between us. And I don't want pressure to pretend everything is perfect. I nodded once. Not dramatic, not cold, just a nod. She looked confused that I didn't jump in. Tom, did you hear what I said? I heard you. And? You're not saying anything. What do you want me to say? She blinked, like she hadn't prepared for that question. I don't want us to fall apart. I still want closeness, the fun stuff, our nights, our routines, just without forcing feelings. Okay, I said. She stared at me, searching for something. Anger, tears, anything. But there was nothing to search for. I stood up, picked up my pillow, and walked toward the hallway. Where are you going? She asked. The guest room. Tom, wait. This is what you got from what I said? This is me staying calm, I told her. And the way her face fell told me everything. She expected a reaction that proved love. But a quiet man can change the mood of an entire house with one decision. The next morning, I woke up before the alarm, not because I slept well, but because my mind was already clear. When someone tells you they don't love you, there's no confusion left to sort through. You just adjust. I walked into the kitchen and made 1 cup of coffee. Alice came in a minute later, hair tied up, still wearing the shirt she'd slept in. You didn't make me coffee? She asked. You said you didn't want pressure, I replied calmly. I'm removing pressure. She frowned. Tom, that's not what I meant. I walked past her and started a load of laundry, only my clothes. She followed me to the hallway like she was trying to understand a new language. Are you mad at me? She asked. No. Then why are you acting like this? I'm adjusting to what you said last night. She crossed her arms, defensive now. I told you I'm not in love at the moment. It doesn't mean we stop being a couple. That's exactly what it means, I said. You changed the category. I'm matching it. Her face shifted, confusion, then frustration. Tom, couples go through phases. Feelings rise and fall. You don't just shut everything off. I didn't shut anything off. You did. I'm responding. She opened and closed her mouth like she wanted to argue, but didn't know where to start. I handed her a simple list I wrote before she woke up. What's this? She asked. Clear lines, separate laundry, separate meals, separate chores, separate accounts for now. We'll keep things respectful, but we won't pretend. Pretend? Tom? We've been married for years. You're talking like we're roommates. We are, until further notice. Her eyes watered, not enough to cry, but enough to show she didn't expect consequences. I continued. I canceled the weekend trip. You'll get the email. You canceled it without asking me? You changed the terms without asking me. Alice stepped back like the words hit her. The silence between us wasn't loud, but it carried weight. This was the moment she realized something important. My quiet wasn't a weakness. It was a direction. Our mutual friend, Monica's birthday dinner, landed 2 days later. Normally, Alice would be excited. She liked being part of any social circle where people saw us as the stable couple. But this time, she got dressed in silence. I noticed her putting extra effort into her makeup, almost like she was preparing for a performance. The restaurant was small and warm, with soft lights and the usual mix of chatter. Monica and her husband David waved when we walked in. Julia, my cousin, was already there. As soon as we sat, Alice slid her hand through my arm like nothing had changed. I moved my arm back gently. She froze for half a second before smiling too widely. Tom's just tired, she told the table. Monica raised an eyebrow. Long week? Something like that, I said. The conversation kept bouncing between work stories and jokes. Alice kept leaning toward me, touching my shoulder, laughing louder than usual. Everything she did looked like an attempt to cover the truth she'd put between us. When the bill arrived, the server placed it near me out of habit. Before, I always covered most group outings, but tonight I pushed it to the middle of the table. "I'm paying my part only," I said. Everyone paused, not awkward, just surprised. David chuckled. "Man, you always pick up half the table." "Not today," I said calmly. Alice's smile cracked. "Tom, can we talk about this later?" Julia glanced at me like she already knew something was wrong. Monica asked softly, "You two good?" Alice opened her mouth, but I spoke first. "Alice told me she isn't in love with me. We're just adjusting." Alice whispered sharply, "Tom, why would you say that here?" "You were honest with me," I said. "I'm being honest with everyone else." The ride home was silent for 3 streets. Then she exploded in a low, shaking voice. "You embarrassed me tonight." I kept my eyes on the road. "You changed the relationship privately and expected me to keep the old version in public." "That's not what I meant. It's what you created." She stared at me, stunned. Not because I yelled, but because I never needed to. The quiet truth did more damage than noise ever could. It arrived on a Sunday afternoon, sharp and without sound. Julia texted me while I was fixing a loose handle in the kitchen. "Call me when you can. It's about Alice." I stepped outside and called her. She didn't waste time. "Tom, I'm sending you something. You deserve to see it." A second later, screenshots flooded my phone. Messages from a group chat between Alice, her friend Megan, and a guy named Eric from her office. Someone must have added Julia by mistake, and she took pictures before leaving. The first screenshot hit harder than anything Alice said on the sofa. "I told Tom I'm not in love. Now I'll see how he reacts," Alice wrote. "Good. If he fights for you, you'll know he still cares," Megan replied. "If he doesn't fight, then he's been done for a long time. You deserve excitement," Eric added. I scrolled slowly, reading every line like it was a different punch. If he gets emotional, that means the marriage still has something. If he stays calm, well, then I know I was right. Eric added a laughing emoji and wrote, "If calm means he doesn't love you, come have a drink with me. I'll show you what excitement looks like." Another message from Alice. "Tom never shows big emotion, so this will prove everything." I leaned against the wall, breathing steady. Not angry, just realizing the truth. Alice didn't come to me with honesty. She came to me with an experiment. A test. A quiet setup designed to measure my pain. Julia spoke softly on the phone. "I'm sorry, Tom. I didn't want to get involved, but you had to know." "Thanks," I said. "You did the right thing." When I walked back inside, Alice was scrolling on her phone, feet tucked under her on the sofa like nothing in the world was wrong. She looked up. "You okay?" "I saw something," I answered. "Something you should explain." She tilted her head. "What do you mean?" I held up my phone. "Your messages." Her expression changed, quick, like a shadow passing a window. "Tom, let's talk about this later." "No," I said quietly. "We talk now." Her experiment was about to face its results, and I wasn't going to react the way she planned. I walked straight to the kitchen and set my phone on the counter. Alice followed slowly, every step cautious, like she wasn't sure what version of me she'd find. "Tom," she said carefully, "whatever you think you saw." "I didn't think," I cut in. "I read your words. You wanted to test me." She swallowed, eyes flicking toward the phone. "That chat was exaggerated. Megan jokes around. Eric's an idiot. None of it was serious." "You were serious," I said. "You told them you'd judge my love by how I reacted to your confession." "That was venting," she insisted. "You know how people talk when they're overwhelmed." I kept my tone flat. "You said if I stayed calm, you'd know I didn't care. If I reacted emotionally, you'd know I loved you. You turned honesty into a measurement." Her voice cracked, the first real break I'd heard in days. "Tom, I was scared. I didn't know how to talk to you. You're always so steady. I needed to see if you felt anything." "You could have asked," I said. "You didn't need an experiment." She shook her head. "I wasn't trying to hurt you. I just wanted clarity. And you got it. I said. But not the kind you expected. She stepped closer. Tom, don't do this. We can fix it. We're just confused right now. I moved her hand off my arm. There's nothing to fix. You said you weren't in love, and then you tested if I would break on command. You don't do that to a partner. Her eyes filled, but the tears stayed still. So what? What are you saying? I'm saying the marriage is over in everything except paperwork, I said. We separate finances, we separate routines, and we talk to lawyers. She stared at me like I had taken the floor out from under her. You're ending our marriage because I made one mistake? You ended it the moment you turned it into a test, I replied. She shook her head, voice trembling. You were supposed to fight for me. I met her eyes without blinking. You wanted results. These are the results. Alice sank into a chair, speechless. The silence between us wasn't loud. It was final. My calm didn't mean I didn't care. It meant I was done letting someone else decide the value of my love. The next morning, I met Dylan, my lawyer and longtime friend, at a quiet cafe near his office. Steady guy, sharp mind, zero interest in drama. Exactly who I needed right now. He skimmed the screenshots, raised an eyebrow, and set my phone down. Tom, that's not a marriage problem. That's a respect problem. I know, I said. You ready for the next step? I was ready the moment she made it a test. Dylan nodded once. All right, we'll start the paperwork. It won't be messy unless she tries to make it messy. I don't think she will, I said. She wasn't expecting consequences. That's all. He handed me a form. Separate accounts, separate billing, separate everything. Do it today. And I did. When I got home, Alice was at the kitchen table with a cup of tea. She looked smaller somehow, like the last 2 days had taken weight off her, but not in a healthy way. You left early, she said quietly. I met with Dylan, I answered. About the divorce. Her fingers tightened around the handle of her mug. You already talked to him? Yes. You didn't even give us a week. A day? Tom, you're moving too fast. You moved the moment you tested me, I replied. I'm just catching up. She pushed her hair behind her ear with shaky hands. People fight and say worse things than I did. They work through it. We're not people, I said. We're two adults who understand consequences. I placed a clean list on the table. Simple, fair, direct. What gets sold? What gets divided? She didn't touch it. I don't want a divorce, she whispered. You didn't want honesty. You wanted a reaction. That's not true. It's written in your messages. Her eyes reddened. Tom, I wasn't thinking clearly. Eric encouraged me. I felt lost. I didn't want to lose you. You lost me the moment you tried to measure me. She stood up abruptly and walked away, covering her mouth with her hand. A small sound escaped her, something between a sob and disbelief. Later that afternoon, Harry, our neighbor, saw her dragging 2 suitcases to her car. He caught me in the hallway. Tom, everything all right? We're ending the marriage, I said simply. His face softened. Sorry to hear that, man. It's for the best. Because once trust breaks, it doesn't crack, it collapses. 2 weeks passed. The house felt quieter, but not uncomfortable. Just honest. I kept to my routines, work, gym. One Wednesday afternoon, she showed up at my office. She walked in carrying a bag from my favorite takeout spot, acting like she belonged there. Hina, my assistant, looked up from her desk, surprised. Tom, Alice said softly, I brought lunch. Thought you might need a break. I nodded once. Thanks. Leave it there. She hesitated. Can we talk? Just for a minute? I motioned to the meeting room and closed the door behind us. Alice sat down, hands clenched. I know I messed up. I know the messages were stupid. I wasn't thinking straight. I was scared and acted like an idiot. I listened without interrupting. She continued, voice trembling. I never wanted to lose you. I thought if I said I wasn't in love, maybe you'd show emotion. Prove something. You wanted a reaction you could score, I said calmly. She winced. I know, and I regret it. All of it. Please, don't throw our marriage away because I panicked. It's not panic, I replied. You planned it. You talked about it. You involved other people. She looked at the floor. I know. I can forgive the fear, I said, but not the trap. Her head snapped up. So that's it? You're done with your wife? I'm done with the version of you who turned our marriage into a test. But I still love you, she whispered. You told me you didn't, I replied, and you meant it enough to make a plan. She grabbed my hand, but I pulled away. Tom, I'm sorry. Please, can't we try again? Slow? Quiet? Just us? I shook my head. Divorce papers are ready. We'll sign them this week. She stared at me like the room was spinning. I never thought you'd actually go through with it. I know, I said. That was the problem. Her face broke. No anger, no act, just realization. Then she left the room, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. As the door closed, I felt something simple and clear settle in my chest. This wasn't revenge, just resolution. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. No courtroom drama, no shouting, no last-minute speeches. Just signatures, papers, and the quiet click of closing a chapter. We split the savings cleanly, sold the car we shared, and divided the furniture without a fight. Alice moved in with her sister on the east side of town. I rebuilt my days from the ground up. Early mornings, lunch breaks where I actually tasted the food, evenings spent fixing things. No noise, no tension, no waiting for someone else's mood to shape mine. Alice's fallout came slowly, through people who cared about both of us. Julia told me she'd taken a leave from work after missing too many days. Megan called me once, didn't answer, and I never learned what she wanted to say. Alice had burned the bridge with her own fire, and the smoke was catching up to her. One Friday evening, she texted, "I'm sorry for everything. I wish I could take it back." I stared at the message for a long moment, then set the phone down. Some doors stay closed for a reason. A month after the divorce, I sat on my new sofa with a simple meal and a quiet TV show playing. No dramatic confession, no paused screen, no emotional landmines waiting in the air. Just me, just calm, just life. People later asked me what happened with Alice. I gave them the same answer every time. She tested whether I'd break. I didn't. And she learned I don't prove love by falling apart. In the end, I didn't need to raise my voice or chase what had already slipped away. I just chose peace, and peace chose me back. Thank you for watching.